All right, I'm trying something new here. I have had so many requests over the years to share just my self practice. And so that's what this is. This is just me completely uncut, unedited, raw, standing on my mat, about to practice. So I thought to begin with, I would try this voiceover thing where I kind of just explain to you some of the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing them. But you can always just mute me if you want to just watch or follow along. And I would love to know from you actually why you're watching. What is it about this video that makes you stick around? Or if you're already deciding, I think I'm going to click away, then let me know why. Like I said, this is just a little experiment. But yeah, so what I always do is I just get on my mat and I don't think too much about how I start. Today I felt like starting standing up, so that's what I did. And I realized my ankles felt kind of tight. So that's where I always begin, is I just scan my body and notice how I'm feeling and what areas need a little TLC. And I just kind of move in those ways. And then I do love a sissy squat. I've been doing these as part of my yoga practice since 2018. So this is not something that I would encourage anybody to try right off the bat. But I've been doing them for so long that, yeah, it's no big deal. My hamstrings were tight this morning because I went to the gym yesterday and there was some hamstring curls in the class. And my lats are also very tight as well. So you'll see later on that I do some lats focused mobility. And this is where I start to really feel my lats. But this is also kind of my wrist warm up. Just starting to tilt a little bit of weight into my wrists. You should know, in case you don't already know, I am hypermobile, which means I don't really have to work on my flexibility so much. It's more for me about building strength into my existing range of motion. So just something to keep in mind if you're not hypermobile and you're going, how has she started her practice with that deep a forward fold? So here's where I'm like, okay, let me see if I can get into my lats a little bit, because my left one especially was quite tight from some of the exercises I did at the gym yesterday. And then I remembered a new favorite drill that I got from a physio. You may know her on Instagram as Cirque Physio, Dr. Jen Crane. I learned so much from her. She is a physiotherapist that kind of specializes in circus performers, and so she works a lot with hypermobile people. And this is encouraging that external shoulder rotation in that shoulder flexion. So it's a lot of serratus and lats and just exactly what my left shoulder in particular needs. Here I decided that maybe what it needed first of all was just some kind of foam rolling type stuff, just to help calm the muscle down, calm the nervous system down around that muscle. So I was too lazy to grab my mobility peanut, which is right behind me, which would have done better, but that's me. That's how I go. Checking my watch because, somebody's blowing up my phone and I keep getting these notifications on my watch. Here I'm just focusing on not sinking, but rather I'm pushing. That's what it is to practice, I think, as a hypermobile person. That's what I encourage everybody to do. Hypermobile people especially, though, is to move with control into your range of motion rather than just sinking. This is my favorite way to start off a 3-legged down dog. Just getting the ankles and everything warmed up. First handstand of the day, it's a bit shaky. I like to kind of open up my hips in a handstand. And this is where my watch is just blowing up like crazy. My sister was sending me loads of Snapchats from her trip to Portugal. And so I went to put my phone on Do Not Disturb, so I can get back to my practice. Love you, sis, but this particular self-care practice does not have space for your Snapchat notifications on my watch. So as I'm doing all of these, I'm just constantly thinking about not sinking through my shoulders, breathing through my nose, keeping my legs straight and toes pointed. That's where my thought process goes. When you're still learning a handstand, your thought process will probably be entirely on what your fingers are doing, perhaps, and just balancing you. Decided to play around with a little Mexican handstand shape here. Still a little bit kind of not quite there. I'm still warming up at this point. But this is a big belief of mine, is that we don't have to do specific like standalone warm-up exercises. We can just go slowly, gingerly, not full range of motion into what we want to do. And like the sissy squat, these are also things that I've been practicing for a very, very long time. That's why I can do them kind of first thing as my kind of warm-up. There are plenty of other things, though, believe me. I would need a full half hour to get into. So here I decide that I'll pause here and just work into my sciatic nerve a little bit. Like I said, my hamstrings were sore from the gym yesterday, but doing little ankle movements when you're in a forward folding position can kind of help floss 3 branches of the sciatic nerve. And then this right here, I just kind of decided to add some thoracic twisting. And it was like, if you know, you know. Sometimes there's a point in your yoga practice where it's like your body just goes, oh, we're doing this. Okay, I get it. We're doing this now. And it just starts to open up. And I got it right there. So this is me, again, just moving with control, not letting myself go as deep as I possibly can, like not sinking with gravity pulling me, but I'm constantly like going 99% into these postures so that I hold myself there with control. This is a little drill that I do for my shoulders. My big goal this year is Mexican handstand, so I'm trying to build a lot more strength in my shoulders in that hyperflexion, that open shoulder position. I have very hypermobile shoulders, so it's a lot of work for me. And, this is funny. I genuinely thought that I would be able to lower from here and get my butt on the floor first. Like, I really, truly believed. And so then when my feet hit first, I was a little bit surprised. But this is what I do. I like to just go, okay, well, this is where I am now. So where can I go from here? And that's how I kind of flow. I like to see every little transition, even the accidental ones, as worthwhile, Apply that mindfulness through the whole thing, no matter what it is. So, broken record me, but here I am, also just kind of like I'm pressing against the floor. I'm lifting up out of it. I'm trying to build strength in my muscles while they're in this range of motion, and that's a fun little move I like to do. The plant got in the way, but yeah, I try not to just slide or flop around anywhere, but I try to think about like putting myself in every position. So I decided to do some forward folding and back bending because this pigeon position, the figure 4 position of my left leg, is quite difficult for me. That is an area where I feel a lot of tightness. And fun fact, if you want to figure out if a stretching sensation that you feel is coming from a nerve or a muscle, if you extend the spine, so back bend, and that sensation lessens, and then it increases as you flex through the spine, a forward fold, a rounding of the spine, then you know it's probably a nerve. But in my case, it was not. Oh, and I'm doing some little neck movements. This was inspired by something I gave one of my private clients to do. And I was like, I want to do it too. So I'm focusing on my neck, keeping my neck as long as possible. I know you can't tell, but that's what I'm trying to do, as well as this actual movement, because I'm also working on my compression for my handstands. I'm just handstands obsessed. And then I just add little drills into what I do through a kind of asana sequence. But it's really just me trying to get better at handstands. It's, it's motivation. So yeah, no flopping. Even here, even as I stretch, I'm like moving through an imagined resistance. And I really think that this is what's made me so strong over the years, is always holding a little bit of tension in my body, like good tension, not unnecessary tension, but I like to move in a way that if I needed to, at any point through any transition, I could stop. I mean, obviously that's not going to happen as I kick up to a handstand. I can't stop like mid-jump. So there's always going to be some momentum, but that's the idea. So yeah, now I'm on to the second side. I was able to go deeper into that back bend shape here. So shows that the previous few movements that I worked through actually did some good. This is my tighter side. That right knee wants to extend out to the side to cheat that hip extension that is so difficult for me on my right leg. And I'm seriously wondering if anybody is actually still with me at this point. Maybe so. I think I'd be bored out of my mind if I had to watch this, but we're all different. Like I said, I'm just experimenting with this. So here we go again. If you want to get geeky, it's the sural and tibial and common peroneal, aka common fibular. Common common fibular branch of the sciatic nerve. You get into all three of those in a forward fold if you move through full ankle circles. And I think that this move here is going to have to make its way into a class that I teach others at some point. I've never actually done this before, these particular thoracic moves in this particular forward fold. That was new for me. And, that's one of the benefits of having a self-practice is you get to go, damn, this feels good. I'm going to share this with other people. Hips stay low. Legs stay active. Build and strengthen to that range of motion. This is the concept. This is where the concept of hypermobility becoming a superpower came from. So I have a book called Too Flexible to Feel Good that I co-wrote, and it's all about hypermobility, and we made it into like a comic book with superheroes and supervillains. And that came from this idea that if you're hypermobile, you've already got the flexibility. And if you can build strength into that flexibility, then it's kind of like the character from X-Men, Cyclops. I think about that one in particular. Like before he learns to control his superpower, his laser eyes, it's horrible for him, right? But once he learns how to control it, it becomes his superpower. And so that to me is what it means when hypermobile people start to move in a way that builds strength. So you don't lose your flexibility. You just have strength as well as the flexibility. And then you can do all sorts of things that other people only dream of. And then it becomes this superpower. And all the other things that hypermobile people deal with, like fatigue and anxiety and gut issues and dizziness and clumsiness. And, it's we have to work harder to overcome these things than somebody who doesn't have disrupted collagen that creates hypermobility. But it's through doing the work, it's through having to climb that mountain that you get all of the benefits of doing the work. And so even though it's kind of a pain in the ass sometimes to be hypermobile and to have achy joints and gut issues and all the rest of it, it's given me a lot of really good stuff. I feel like I'm recording a podcast now. Maybe this is my new podcast. because now I'm just talking. I'm not even looking at the screen as I make this voiceover. Maybe I'll just get out all the questions that I'm asked often and start answering frequently asked questions. I can't actually think of any frequently asked questions right now, but if you have any questions for me, feel free to leave them in the comments, and if this thing actually works out, then I'll answer those questions in the next video. Anyways, yeah, you should give these neck movements a try. So any posture, plank pose, warrior 3, forward fold, where your face is facing the mat. If you pull your face away from the mat, then you're working these muscles, but you can add in like a side flexion movement with the neck or a rotation and still add in those little movements of pulling your face away from the mat. Really nice. I'm kind of obsessed with those. Like I said, after I gave them to one of my private clients, I was like, damn, these are good. Like, everybody should do these. Oh, my AirPod fell out. Normally that pisses me off, but it gave me an excuse to pause that pretty grueling little exercise I was doing. I don't understand why Apple designed the AirPods the way that they did. They're all the time getting caught and coming out. But, there's definitely worse things in life than your AirPod popping out of your ear. Like LSATs and the clowns in charge of several of the countries in the world. I won't get into politics. Actually, I might. I can't promise that. I might start spouting politics stuff, but not in the mood today. You've been spared. So I only had 20 minutes on this particular day to practice, so I only got through this sequence one time. It's actually the same sequence that I did the previous day, and I liked it, and so I repeated it, but that's pretty rare for me. I get bored easily. It's a blessing and a curse. So I'm all the time changing it up and doing things slightly differently, or doing things completely differently to how I've done them before. But this sequence, yeah. The previous day I did it 3 times, but today I only had time to do it once. That's kind of how the flows are on Move with Adell. It's a sequence. It's just one sequence. Do it one time. But the idea is that you could repeat it. Do it 2 times, 3 times if you want a longer practice. That's always been kind of the benchmark of my self-practices. I always come up with a sequence and then I do it as many times as I can based on how much time I've got or how much energy. Then you get the benefit of like variety, creating a new sequence, doing new movements, but then the repetition as well. I did want to do another sissy squat though. I was like, okay, I don't have time to do all of that again, but I love how much it strengthens my quads in the lengthened form and my other hip flexors, of course. I wasn't super happy with that bridge, that wheel pose, but sometimes you just gotta accept what is. So, I thought I was ready for a Shavasana, but then I decided I still needed a little bit of something. I think I was just still feeling like my gym workout from the previous day. I typically I go to the gym on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then I do yoga on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And sometimes I do a standalone handstand practice as well, but it doesn't always happen like that, Life gets in the way, other things come up, and you sacrifice your practice, your exercise. So that's the ideal for me, is Monday, Wednesday, Friday gym, Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday is yoga and then handstands. And then Sunday might just be yoga, or sometimes I go to the climbing wall, or I'll go for a hike or something. but I'm pretty sure I could count on one hand the number of weeks that I've actually done all of that. Usually one or two or all of those get sacrificed. But I always like to say, that's part of the yoga practice as well. Like we wobble in our poses, we wobble, when we're trying to stand on one foot or whatever, but we also wobble in our consistency and how often we show up. And it's all part of it, right? We learn through wobbling. If you're not wobbling, then you're not learning. You're not pushing yourself. You're not doing something that's actually challenging. You're not growing. And so if you wobble in some other way, you wobble in your consistency. You wobble in the length of time that you spend on the mat. You wobble in how hard you push yourself or how much rest you give yourself, whatever it is. Like that's where you learn. That's where you go, oh, that didn't quite work. Let me try something different next time. Anyway, blah, 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 Shavasana. I'm not very good at taking long Shavasanas. I need to work on that. But yeah, there we go. I hope you enjoyed.